Kofi was known across the village of Nsumba as a smooth-talking charmer. Every girl who met him either blushed or warned her friends to stay far from him. He walked around with flashy clothes, loud laughter, and a confidence that filled the air like dust in sunlight. No one believed he could ever settle for one woman. But deep inside his heart, Kofi felt a strange emptiness. Each night, when the moon rose, he wondered why joy never stayed with him. Mama Zudi, the wise storyteller, often watched him with quiet eyes, as if she knew something he did not, like the wind holding secrets before a storm. Ara was the opposite of Kofi. She worked in the small, clay-walled village library, arranging old stories and sweeping books no one bothered to read. Her voice was soft, her movements gentle, and she hid behind her braided hair whenever someone looked too closely. Yet, Ara carried a deep love for stories and truth. She believed real love was patient, honest, and pure, something she only read in old tales. She never expected trouble to find her, but trouble had already seen her in the form of Kofi's curious eyes. Kofi entered the library only to escape the sun. He did not expect to be stunned into silence by a girl who barely spoke. Ara greeted him politely without lifting his eyes, and her calmness felt like cold water on fire, unexpected and refreshing. He asked for a random book just to keep her talking, but Ara simply handed him a dusty folktale and returned to her work. For the first time in his life, Kofi felt invisible, and it shook him more than any rejection he had ever heard. Kofi returned to the library the next day, and the next. He tried his usual charm, but Ara's shy honesty broke all his tricks. When he joked, she simply nodded. When he boasted, she asked him to lower his voice so others could read. The more she ignored his flashy ways, the more he wanted her attention. He didn't understand why. Mama Zudi noticed the change in his behavior, smiling quietly as she watched the proud rooster begin to humble himself. One quiet afternoon, Ara read aloud to some children. Her voice was soft but full of emotion. Kofi stood behind the shelves, secretly watching as she told a tale about a hunter who lost everything because he chased shadows instead of truth. Every word hit Kofi like a drum beat to his chest. For the first time, he asked himself what kind of man he truly was. Ara's story entered his heart, breaking open a door he had kept locked for years. Slowly, Kofi began to visit the library, not to impress Ara, but to learn. They talked about kindness, loyalty, and how love should make a person better, not worse. Kofi listened more than he spoke, a miracle the whole village could hardly believe. Ara, who usually avoided people, found herself smiling more around him. They walked home together sometimes, sharing small stories about their dreams. But every sweet moment grew a new fear in Kofi. What if he was not good enough for her? One evening, some of Kofi's old admirers tried to pull him back into his past life. They laughed, teasing him for spending time with the quiet library girl. Their words dug into his pride, stirring old habits he thought he had buried. Kofi stood at a painful crossroads, his past calling loudly, and his future whispering softly in Ara's voice. Mama Zudi watched from a distance, knowing that every heart must be tested before it can truly love. Ara heard the rumors spreading around the village. that Kofi was only pretending, that he would soon return to his old ways. Her heart trembled with fear. She did not want to be another story in his long list of broken promises. So she began avoiding him. She locked herself inside the library, refusing to speak to him when he came. The sudden distance felt like cold rain on Kofi's chest, and for the first time in his life, he truly felt heartbreak. Seeing his pain, Mama Zuri finally stepped forward. She told him, "My son, real love does not live in the mouth. It lives in actions. If you want Ara's trust, you must become a man who deserves it, not a man who only desires it." Her words struck deep. That night, Kofi sat under the moonlight thinking hard. No more games, no more charm. If he wanted Ara, he would have to change from his bones outward. Slow, painful, but true. Kofi returned to the library and apologized, not with flowers or sweet words, but with sincerity. He told Ara he was ready to learn, ready to grow, ready to become a man worthy of her respect. Ara saw truth in his eyes, not the old fire of pride. Slowly, she stepped closer, finally meeting his gaze. "Real love does not rush," she whispered. "It grows like a seed." And so they began again, not as a playboy and a shy assistant, but as two souls walking the same path. In the evenings, Mama Zuri would smile as she told the new story of Nsumba, how even the wildest heart can learn to love when it meets the right soul.